The NFL in Week 10 was literally amazing. Every single game has a meaning to it. Every single game was a big deal. 6 of the 12 games were walk-off field goals and everything else in between. So we have a very big show for you, and it's going to be very, very fun. So let us enjoy our conversation and make some picks ahead for Week 11. We have Alex, Renelio, Nico, and Bars all coming in. What's going on, guys?
Yo, what's going on? What's going on, man?
How we doing?
What up, boys?
Awesome shirt, Bars. I
Nico,
like it.
Alex, what's going on?
What's
Yo,
up?
man, you don't even know.
Perfect. So we got some big guns out here. We got a lot of things to talk about. And where do I start? Let's start with Monday Night Football. Oh, man. Monday Night Football. Okay, so how do I break this down? How do I break down this insane game? First things first. The Broncos won the game 24-22. 30 seconds prior to that, they won the game 21-20. So all in all, we first saw somewhat of a battle between Russell Wilson and Josh Allen. Then Josh Allen was making his mistakes again, crumbling in the second half, but the defense kept them in it. But Russell Wilson, looking like the old Russell Wilson, made a push. It goes down to the wire where the Broncos make a quick 2-minute drill and they go down in the red zone of the Bills. So we get a pretty exciting in the last 13 seconds, we were able to see the Broncos offense turn into their special teams. Will Lutz goes for the kick. He misses it wide right. But there's a flag. 12 men on the field. They get a second chance to kick the field goal in, and of course he hits it right down the middle, and the Broncos win the game. The Bills have a horrible loss. They go down to 5-4. The Bills are 5-4, and the Broncos are 4-6. And I mean, this has to be the nail in the coffin, guys, right? It has to be for the Bills. I know there's still a little less than half of the year to go, but time and time again, we talk about this team blowing it in the second half. They're barely up in the division. The Jets are only a game behind them, and then you have Miami, rolling in. But the Bills cannot be considered a top team when you blow a game like that. 12 men on the field. I mean, I've heard people say, oh, well, they weren't ready for the special teams. That's not an excuse. 12 men on the field were penalties my high school team would get. Bad job by the Bills in this game. Talk to me about how disappointing it is for the Bills to lose this game and how it can affect their whole season.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those games where you just can't lose. You can't lose to Denver, especially in that situation Monday night and you've been struggling. But again, it's something we talk about every week. It's this team just turns the ball over. Even the big run that James Cook had in the fourth quarter on that drive, he fumbled the ball, bounced right back to him, and he took off. The Bills were actually very fortunate, in my opinion, to be where they were, and it was because they were playing the Broncos. If they were playing any other team, which they have coming up on their schedule is ridiculous, they would never even be in a situation to be in that game that late. But like I said, inexcusable. 12 men on the field just can't happen at this level, especially at that point in the game. Everybody in the world knew after you took the 2 timeouts, they're going to need it again, rush the field goal team out. You got to prepare on the defense side of the ball. I don't know if it's a coaching thing, but you have to make sure you have 11 guys on the field. In that situation, why even take your team off? I would have just kept my defense that was on the field during the knee on the play before. Why even risk taking the substitution or taking somebody off the field? It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, what are the backup special teams really going to make a difference?
That's at that point in the game.
Defensive number ones.
Seriously, like it's just like your best chance was them rushing the kick and missing it, like what happened. But yeah, I was sticking up for the Bills the past couple weeks, but man, it's time to panic, and their schedule looking forward is rough, and they got to figure it out, and I don't know what they're going to do.
Excellent points about the crucial turnovers, too. What a mess.
So I'll be the devil's advocate here because I know that everybody's going to steel man this. I wrestled with this all day today, preparing for tonight, and I really had a hard time how to feel about the Bills as a neutral viewer. So if we're talking like aspirations for the AFC Championship, Super Bowl, I would definitely be in panic mode, like Nico said. But when I look at there's a multiple reasons as to why I'm not panicked. First off, the AFC East is not the juggernaut that we expected. I mean, obviously, we thought Aaron was going to be here. We thought New England would be a little bit better. We thought Miami wouldn't be. We thought Miami wouldn't be 0-3 against plus 500 teams. When you look at the way the Bills lost, yeah, it was totally devastating by the miscues with the flags and the penalties. But if you look at them on paper, they had almost 180 yards rushing on the ground, which is something they don't do. They're always Josh Allen heavy and dependent. When you look at the receiving core, Stephon Diggs got blanketed, and they still ended up
35 yards.
Yeah, and they still ended up having 5-6 guys on the receiving end, including Dalton Kincaid, who had a touchdown. So I think there's a lot of very, very positive things about this team that shouldn't just be thrown out like with the baby with the bathwater. I understand that everybody Monday morning quarterback is ready to write them off, send them out to pasture. But the reality is, and I've talked to a lot of Bills fans about this in an encouraging manner, you can't give up just because this team is 500. I understand they're not the team that we knew yesteryear. They look a little stagnant on offense. They look a little unorthodox. They don't have the healthy guys ready on defense that they did, but they made a lot of big plays in this game. And this is an ascending Denver team no matter what people think. I mean, they've won 2 of their last 3 or 2 of their last 4. They're starting to get in the right direction. And the only reason I would be discouraged, not only because of the penalties, someone's going to get fired for that. I don't care who it is. But the only other reason is because you had an extra day of preparation on top of this Monday night game, and you're at home. So I understand that frustration, but but when you look at the grand scheme of things, the AFC is still open. It's still got availability, and the AFC East, outside of Miami, who still has yet to be proven with a quality win, I would be very encouraged when you look at the whole scope of things.
Well, adding on to people getting fired, the Bills did fire their offensive coordinator today. At the time of this recording, Ken Dorsey, and one of the position coaches stepped up. So somebody did take a fall one way or the other.
That's crazy.
And I don't think that's right. And I don't really – real quick before you go, Bars, I don't think that's very just because it's easy to crap on the offense for being a little lackluster for 10 weeks. But the reality is that who was the one that had the miscues? And that was really Sean McDermott. I think he needs to own that.
I think he's on a hot seat.
Wait, Bart, can I just say something real quick? I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. It's Monday. Alex is 100% right. I just had to jump on that real quick. The Sean McDermott thing, the reason why he fired his offensive coordinator is because he has most of the majority of the public and everyone thinking, this wasn't me. This wasn't my fault. Now, if you start winning and you do turn the season around with the talent that you have, they're going to be like, oh my God, it was this offensive coordinator. So I think McDermott had to do this. It's one of those situations. It's either me or you, and he sacrificed the offensive coordinator, and that's the only thing he's able to do to save his job if they turn it around. Because right now, they're going to keep doing what they're doing, not make the playoffs. McDermott's gone.
Also doing that, too, he puts a target on his back, and he puts more pressure. So he has to get this right, or he's in a lot of trouble. He's been the head coach since 2017. That's a long time. And there have been some ugly losses in that tenure. Absolutely. So this is your time to switch it up, get on a hot winning streak. Definitely, at least get, I don't think you'll get a bye. You won't get the first round, but you have to have some quality wins moving forward here. Bars, your turn.
It's crazy that Dorsey got fired before Matt Canada did. But as you can see, we'll get there. We'll get there when we talk about the Steelers game. But I see a lot of news people talking, and they're talking about let's ask the Josh Allen question. We've been talking about the inconsistency of this team all season, legitimately. But as we can see, it's not more so a Josh Allen problem. It might be a coaching problem. We who knows? It could be a head coaching. It could be an offensive coordinator. We'll find out soon enough. Move was made. So we'll see what's going on. We'll see. Excuse me. We'll see what happens with this one. But it was just a good win in my opinion for the Broncos. They needed that. Russell Wilson. I don't know what's going on over there. Maybe someone sat him down and said, "Yo, you need to play like a Super Bowl winning quarterback." like, something. I don't know, but they're looking decent over there. But let's see if they can upkeep this. I don't know if they can, but yeah.
Hey, give credit to Russell Wilson. He already had surpassed his touchdown mark he had last year. He's 18. He only had 16 total last year. But we've clowned Russell Wilson a lot since he's been a Bronco. But at least since then, at least since this particular season, I think he knows he doesn't want to be the butt of any more jokes. So give credit to Russell on that one. But Bills need to clean how the Bills need to either clean their act up or they're going to be cleaning house. And the Broncos, staying competitive. Let's talk about what I think was the game of the week. And that was the Detroit Lions and the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, if you had prop bets on this game, you had to have hit them with the skill position. And incredible stuff. That game went back and forth to the very end. Jared Goff and Justin Herbert, a true duel game here. And as I mentioned, on both sides, the skills players were real highlights, and they won, and it ended in a walk-off field goal for Detroit. What's more of the story here? The incredible win by Detroit, proving themselves again that they are a team worth talking about, or another very bad, cringeworthy loss for the Los Angeles Chargers. For a second, you thought maybe they got their act together against the Jets, but it seems like they just beat the Jets because pretty annoying stuff here. What's the bigger matter here? Lions win or the Chargers lose?
It's absolutely the Chargers loss, in my opinion. I said it a couple weeks ago. I said clip it. I said if I really still thought the Chargers were going to win the AFC. But I will say, to me, this game proved how elite the Chargers can be. We've been talking about the whole entire year that Detroit's arguably the second or third best team in the NFC, right behind San Francisco and Philadelphia. And for the Chargers to battle with them on the road, make that game an absolute shootout, I was very impressed. But I will say it speaks loud for them because the reality is, like Alex mentioned, it's a weaker AFC, so there's a chance that you could sneak in. But I just don't know how you can move forward after a loss like that. You did everything you could. Your defense just wasn't there. Like, you couldn't guard guys. But I don't even want to say the defense played bad. Jared Goff played unbelievable. They got Gibbs involved. The play calling was unbelievable by Campbell. Perfectly executed win by the Lions. And the Lions are a force to be reckoned with. And they're a team that we're going to see in late January, I believe. And, hats off to Detroit, but I really still think the Chargers are the most talented team on paper in the whole entire NFL. And I think there's some hope. If they can turn around, get hot, you sneak in as a 7 or 6 seed, watch out the Chargers aren't winning that AFC title, like I said.
Just what do you think's happening now, though, with these losses? Is it a Brandon Staley issue? Is it what?
100%. I
agree too.
Like you said,
not 100. No. This is where I'm jumping in. It's not 100%. There's going to be a little bit to go around for a lot of people. I was the biggest fan, waving the pom-poms with Nico, I can imagine, before I met him. Watching Herbert when he came right out of college, he blew me away instantly. I watched him in spite with the AFC West, so I want to make that very clear. A lot of this goes on Eckler. Some of it goes on Staley. Some of it goes on that offensive coordinator. But the reality is they're just too one-dimensional on offense. And I can understand that you could play a shootout with a team like Detroit, but there's no reason they couldn't have beat Detroit at home. If you look at the way the game broke down, the Chargers, they were digging themselves out of a hole in the first quarter. And I just think that when you look at the way that Detroit ascended, they're kind of a 7-2 by omission. I fall in love with how they play, but they get a lot of fourth and down, ballsy conversions. They get a lot of third down, big chunk plays. They're very crafty in what they do schematically, but I think that they're more of a product of omission than actual execution. And I think that this is a weaker NFC, and I think that they're, kind of backing into a third seed in terms of the overall picture of things in that fashion. So I don't see why the Chargers couldn't have won this game, but I would definitely give a little bit of blame to like 3 or 4 guys on this team.
You know what? in consideration to what you just said, real quick, let's touch on that. I agree. You're right. They gave up 200 yards on the ground, like 300 yards in the air. Let's chuck that up to the defense. A big thing that we're going to talk about, the defense played okay. I'm not even going to say they played good. I'll say they played okay. Something let's talk about, they had no sacks. Not a single sack. Like, I don't know how much pressure Jared Goff was under, but it don't feel like he was under much. You know what I'm saying? Not a single interception, maybe a few pass breakdowns, but like, if you look at the stats, they kind of killed him pretty much all over the game. And like you said, it might be this is a weaker NFC, where it's like it's a very blatant discrepancy between the top teams and just who ain't gonna cut it. Like, you can see who's sneaking in through the wild card and who's on the hunt, but other than the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Lions, literally, like, probably in that order, like, the NFC is pretty much like deflated. Honestly, I feel like this was a very big loss for the Chargers. And like I said, I had the Lions winning this game, actually, with the over. I should have put money on it, but I really didn't. But I should have put the over on it. And it's kind of pretty much what I thought it was going to be, a shootout. Herbert has to do 4 touchdowns. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, Jared Goff, you figure Jared Goff would need to score 4 touchdowns to win this game. But honestly, I'd like to say that on paper, the Lions look like a better team. And to that regard, Nico, because I don't know, St. Brown, eight catches, 156 yards, averaging almost 20 a pop in a touchdown. You got to kind of give it to them. Like, they're doing pretty good over there. But it's a weak NFC. So, like you said, it's by omission. I'll give them that. But honestly, it's a fat L on me for the Chargers. They got to fix that up. Austin Eckler, they need someone to back him up or something. Someone else on the ground. I don't know. They got to fix something over there. The defense needs a couple pieces probably to spark them up. Khalil Mack don't got the pop that he used to. I don't know what it is.
I don't disagree with the both of you are saying. Like, it's not all 100% on the coach, and I do. Bars, you're 100% right. The Lions.
Yeah, at first I was agreeing with you, but I had to recant after listening to it.
Yeah, no, but my whole thing is, you can't even though you have the superstar like Austin Eckler, you have the superstars like Keenan Allen, you can't win games if you're set
up. A phenomenal game.
I think they're just set up for failure. Every single 1st and 10, you're running the football. You have a 2nd and 4, you're running the football. It's going to be 3rd and 2. You're going to do that little bootleg play action. They're so predictable every single time. But they scored because they're so athletic. They're unbelievable. But like, when they play these teams like Detroit can score with this, so they're not going to stop. And
exactly, and their defense is just as athletic.
But agreed. But sometimes the best thing to do versus a team like that in a situation like this is go on a 7, go on an 8-minute drive, pound the ball with Austin Eckler, pound the ball with your superstar, and they just haven't done that yet. And I think that's a lot of play calling, because I think they could do that.
That's something great the Eagles really do. They know how to extend drives. That's probably the secret weapon in the whole NFL. Make a drive last an entire quarter or most of it. And like, upset people who are betting, upset the other fan base. The best Super Bowl of all time, Super Bowl 25, Bills and Giants. That's how they beat the best Bills in that team in that era. They had more time possession.
But to add to what you said, Matt, they do it in a way where it's like they don't get gassed.
Mastering the tush push too to get a reset of downs.
It's called the Pennsylvania shove now. After the Steelers popped it off.
I actually did hear something like that, but regardless, that's the difference between the great teams and the good teams, and we'll have to go with it.
That was the Philly finger special.
All right, goodness. Anyways, but very good game. We'll see how this affects the future, but we do have to move on. And a game that is worth talking about that unfortunately our Jeff fan friend Hayden is not around to discuss with, but we're the Raider fan to discuss with. But here it is. The Las Vegas Raiders defeated the New York Jets on Sunday night by a score of 16-12. Oh boy, I'll do it. What a damn shame for the New York Jets to lose this game. Now, give credit to the Vegas Raiders. Under Antonio Pierce, the team is clearly more motivated. That team has something going on. They've played much better on defense, creating a lot of pressures. And I'm sure when they have a real test against Miami, they are going to be forced to be reckoned with. I'll let Alex discuss the Raiders in a second. But for the New York Jets themselves, Zach Wilson didn't play absolutely horrible. But the frustrating part about this Jets team is that they had a competent quarterback, that they would be much more competitive in this entire season. Oh, man, a bad interception near the red zone in the last 4 minutes of the game killed him. A solid Hail Mary getting the ball back, having a 2-minute drill. And give credit to Zach Wilson with Max Crosby running at him about to eat him up. He's able to get that ball in the red zone, hits Garrett Wilson's hands. He drops it. Tyler Conklin didn't help by having his hand up there either. And the Raiders win the game. Solid win for the Raiders. But for the Jets, I don't know how many more times we have to talk about why they continue to have Zach Wilson play on this team. Reckon we won't know if you have better options or who's worse with Trevor Siemian and Tim Boyle, but you keep putting this guy up for failure. Zach Wilson is literally a punching bag in this entire nation. Football fans are not. People who hate football, don't know a thing about football, knows about how Zach Wilson holds the team back. And God bless Zach Wilson. He was the 2nd overall pick. He had something to get in the NFL. He's going to get millions. He's gotten millions of dollars and will keep getting some more money. But the man, his ceiling is an average quarterback. He's not a championship caliber player. He's not a needle mover. Yet they keep putting him week after week after week. And just could have easily won this game if they had a better quarterback out there, but they didn't. And they keep eating these terrible losses. I mean, it's mind-blowing that Robert Saleh goes and puts him every week. And we can see in his press conferences, he himself probably doesn't believe in Zach Wilson with his I plead the fifth on why are you putting him in and, all of his quiet answers. I don't know if Zach Wilson has something on Woody Johnson and Joe Douglas to put him in there, but the Jets are not going anywhere, and they are wasting this amazing, talented defense because they keep putting a quarterback who can't do a thing. And you know what? There was a quarterback available, which we'll talk about in the next segment, named Josh Dobbs, who was clearly available, and there's no report if Joe Douglas made a move or not on him. And now they are seeing the Minnesota Vikings, who started 1-4, now actually have a chance for the playoffs. That GM did it right. I don't know why this GM and Joe Douglas isn't. What a damn shame the Jets are, and they will keep being a punching bag until they make the change at quarterback, or Aaron Rodgers somehow comes back in mid-December like he said he will. So now let's go on the other side. Let's talk about a team that could be on the rise. I'll throw to Alex. Say what you have to say about the clearly improving Las Vegas Raiders.
Well, I think you kind of couched it that way. I think I'm very impressed, and I'm cautiously optimistic about this team. It feels like there's definitely new life after two straight weeks. It's going to be tough next week going on the road to Miami in the 1:00 slot. The proverbial West Coast team going east is always tough. But I think that they have a puncher's chance. Again, now that we're 500, Miami's 0-3 against winning teams. So who knows? I mean, it's pretty much a toss-up. I haven't seen the line yet, but I do feel like the momentum has changed in that locker room. They definitely have an undefeated social media team through 3 weeks. So that's definitely awesome to see. But again, I'm just going to keep it real simple. I'm very just cautiously optimistic. There's a lot of things to improve with this team. Week to week, Aiden O'Connell just needs to keep getting his confidence back. Again, 5-15 on third down is not going to cut it. They basically drew dead even on time of possession. When you have Jacobs, one of the best running backs in the league, you got to really milk that clock and lean on him, especially when you have an absence at the quarterback position. So moving forward, I would just say keep doing more of what they're doing. Try to dial up some interesting things on offense. Antonio Pierce, kind of galvanize the troops in the locker room and just take every game week to week, and sky's the limit.
Nico and Bars, please add on to this.
I look at it as a solid win for the Raiders. They're rising up after their changes in management. But I will say this: it was a very sluggish game to watch. Fuck. Fudge. I can't stand Derek Carr over there.
The Derek
It's
Carr of the
just
Raiders.
yes.
He's on the Saints.
Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't stand. Who they have? Who
Aiden
they have
O'Connell.
playing?
Aiden
Oh
O'Connell.
God, it might as well have been Carr. That's how I felt. Like, I'm sorry, I had a brain fart for a second. Nah, it was a very sluggish game. Offense got really rolling, like really late for them. Like towards the fourth quarter, they had some good plays. As you could, as I watch the game, it makes me wonder: with Aaron Rodgers there, would that offense really be much better? But then I see some plays going on. I'm like, yeah, it definitely would be. Like Zach Wilson just definitely ain't it. And like I've been preaching, I've been on it. I think that's why I zoned out because I've been against Zach Wilson the whole time. And like just hearing his name probably just like kind of like made me think about that person who said that I was like I had like no brain cells or something. I forget what it was. But it just kind of like the front office, you gotta look at them guys. You gotta ask yourself, just like Matt said, why do you keep starting this guy? There's gotta be someone you can give a chance. Now he didn't play horrible, but he didn't play great either. And like I felt like there was a lot of chances this team had, a lot of drop. Like I'm gonna put some drop passes on the players, but like a lot like Aaron Rodgers would have made a lot of different plays. Like it's just the way it is. But the Raiders had a good win. Let's not take that away from them. The defense worked really hard to keep the Jets in the game, and that's not fair to them. But it is what it is. But looking at the game, I will say this: they have a similar situation to the Steelers, where it's like the offense ain't that great, but the defense keeps them in the game. But the Steelers just look better doing
it. Yeah. I will touch on this game a little bit as well. Yeah, I called Alex yesterday. We were work related, and then like it turned into a conversation about this. But I do have a couple takes. My first take is I mentioned it a few weeks back. Why is this team in prime time every single week? Every single time we talk about the Raiders, it's a prime time football game. I feel like
I feel like
Rodgers is supposed to be there.
I just don't get it. Well, Rodgers for the Jets, but I agree. Like the Jets, I completely agree that they should have deserved the primetime games because we all thought they were going to be great with Rodgers. But like, anyway, that's just my take about the primetime. But I will say about the game itself, I think the swagger and the momentum in the Raiders locker room is different right now. I think the team's buying in; they're all in. I love seeing the little cigar thing they're doing after every single game because like you need that. You stay loose. You're winning football games. There's nothing better. Like Alex touched on too, the social media page has been unbelievable.
Fire!
Like some of the content has just been amazing. But I just think this Raiders team is back. As for the Jets, again, this is going to be the Jets' reality. It doesn't matter if they're playing the Raiders. I don't think it matters if they're playing the Chiefs. They're going to be in defensive battles, and they're going to have to try to win games.
And they're relying on them way too much.
That's it.
They can't score a touchdown all the time. It's very hard for the defense to score touchdowns. It's not that easy. But I mean, they somehow think it is.
Exactly. It's impossible. It's like you said, like it's almost like the Giants too. Like the Giants defense, they need them to set up that offense too. But
over 600 total yards on the Giants this past week. We'll get into that. Don't worry.
Yeah, but I will say, it's not that I'm giving up on Zach Wilson. I never really started hyping him in the first place. I don't know.
It's almost like a social experiment, seeing how much you could test the fan base like this, no matter what.
Yeah, no, it's kind of fun if you think about it. But
oh yeah, like I listen to local talk all the time, and it's just at first people it was literal dumb hope. I've learned one thing: the worst sports take one person can have is that they are going to win by hope. That is not a thing. No, it's not. It works in the movies. We are in reality. And for those people who actually thought Zach Wilson was going to turn it around, you have those sound bites of them sounding like complete morons for life. And Zach, now listen, there have been teams that have been able to become championship winning football teams with a stellar defense. 03 Buccaneers, obviously 85 Bears, 2000 Ravens. But the thing is, they had a competent quarterback. They have an incompetent quarterback here. Like, they haven't scored an offensive touchdown in 11 quarters. Nobody is moving the ball on that. You could all on fantasy pick the defense that is going against the Jets. You will win. I mean, those people who had skill players for the Jets reckon they thought Aaron Rodgers was there. They are getting completely screwed. This offense is anemic. You got to blame Nate Hackett to a point too. I mean, he's actually kind of gotten lucky to not get much ridicule because he is the one running this offense, and it's just, I just don't get it. I've learned one thing too: the winning program, in no matter what sport, in the professional sports, it's all on the ownership. The ownership picking the right people and the right people to make decisions. And with the perfect example in the Texas Rangers for baseball, who lost a heartbreaker World Series in 11. They're back in 12 years because of a better ownership, picking up the right GM, and they're the champions now. And then you have someone like the Yankees who haven't changed shit since 2009 and are not taken seriously anymore. I mean, it clearly is easier said than done. I'm just somebody who is making sports takes, but it's like, I just don't get why ownership are making these weird decisions, like putting a quarterback who cannot move the ball for you. And you know what? They'll just continue being a mat being stepped on until something changes.
Before we move on,
He's running it right into the ground.
Exactly.
Before we move on, tell me how hard, if you saw this in a department store, would you buy that as a shirt?
So yes, he is showing a shirt with RWA Raiders win.
Raiders
with attitude.
I would.
Raiders with attitude.
That's what they need. They need to get out that old lethargic. They had like an old lethargic morale, this geriatric vibe in there that was there ever since Gruden was there. They never kind of really got rid of it, and now Antonio Pierce coming there injecting some life. That's what they needed.
Mark Davis was the one who stepped up once and for all, and look what he's happening now. Yep. Got rid of your GM and head coach, and you're undefeated so far. So there you go, everybody. Now, as I mentioned, Josh Dobbs was available for the Jets. They didn't make the move, and now Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut, which is one of the coolest nicknames I've heard, he gives fans the Pastronaut. Josh Dobbs gives fans hope for Minnesota and now gives them playoff hopes after a stellar comeback victory over the New Orleans Saints. Again, since we have no Hayden, I think it's fair to say with that team, unfortunately having players having legal issues, Derek Carr having a hard time staying on the field and just blowing games left and right. And the Vikings took advantage of a Saints team that has a lot more work to do and gets an amazing win. And as I mentioned, they are right in there for a wild card race after starting 1-4. Justin Jefferson is coming back, and TJ Hawkins is, an underrated top tight end. They have a really good line. The Vikings are them right now, thanks to Josh Dobbs. How about Josh Dobbs right now, my friends? Tell me all about how impressed you are by him, or not, but we're all impressed by him. Let's be real.
Honestly, like I said it like 2 weeks ago, the spark of that Cardinals offense, he kept them winning, or not winning. Sorry. He kept them like feeling like he kept them making you feel like, oh, damn, these Cardinals could probably win this game. Seriously, when you look at it, Josh Dobbs came in, first game, new system, shaky at first, won them that game. Now look at them. The Vikings are about to trend up from now. That's all I got to say, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I agree with part of that. Josh Dobbs' magic has been there all year. Even that Arizona, that awful Arizona team, they just made them feel alive. I said it on the show a few weeks back. I honestly think, I know everyone's saying Damar Hamlin comeback player of the year or most improved or comeback player of the year, Damar Hamlin. But if there is a most improved award, I think Josh Dobbs deserves that award. I also don't think Josh Dobbs necessarily deserves the comeback player of the year award. But you look at somebody who's been cut, hasn't really done anything in his whole entire career. And I'm not saying he's on an elite team or anything like that, but he's balling, dude. He's balling out right now.
I'm not even trying to be like, that guy. But like, I feel like that's just like a Cinderella story. Them giving it to Damar Hamlin. Like, that's kind of like, because honestly, they even said it the other night on the air. Like, he got in for like on defense when somebody went down. But like, aside from that, he's been playing special teams and limited play. Like I wouldn't really give him that. Like, people just kind of want to give it to him after his heartbreak. Like, it was heartbreaking what happened.
Yeah.
But like, there's like, to do that would like snub so many other players who have been working really hard, like Josh Dobbs, for instance. Like, so that's just my take on that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I agree with you. Like, I think he'll get it, and it's fine that he gets it. I think it's a great story. I'm not saying it's not, but yeah, Joshua Dobbs, man, balling out. Energy's alive in Minnesota. Justin Jefferson's coming back. We'll see what this team can do. And that NFC, that division's not great outside of Detroit. Have a couple good division games left. You could possibly have a big run going out. You already won 5 straight. See what else they can do.
And give credit to Kevin O'Connell too. He can coach. He's had a lot. He's had a lot of wrenches thrown his way, and he's producing wins. Some people thought he got real lucky last year, but you know what? Maybe there was something to win it, going 11-0 in one-score games.
And it's like, and you got to look at this. Like, Cousins was very like not that he wasn't. I wouldn't say he was like stagnant, but he wasn't your bait, like your wanted mobile quarterback. Like, Dobbs gives them a little bit of fight now. He gives them a lot of juice. Like, when Justin Jefferson comes back, it's a different team.
Yes, especially his legs, Josh Dobbs, and we will see where this pans out. Anything to add, Mr. Ranelio?
Actually, the one thing, because you guys all pretty much hit it on the head, the one man we haven't given credit to that really deserves a little bit of a shout out because of the way he left Miami is Brian Flores.
Yes.
If you look over the last 5 weeks, outside of the Falcons game where they put 28 on them, they're averaging giving up about 16 points a game, which is like top 5 in the league. And he's been calling a masterful game, especially with a team that was in the bottom 5 in defense the last 2 years. So I just wanted to give him a little love and just kind of keep that momentum, in perspective as well.
Yes.
So shout out
defensive coordinator for the Vikings.
Shout out to that. We had Flores last year, but it was more like we didn't really do nothing with him because he was in that transition. But everyone always talked about the impact that he would have on defense, and it's showing you like right here, and like with what he's done. So you know what, like that's a perfect shout out, Alex. I agree with you.
And of that starting 11 guys too, I think like 4 or 5 are either rookies or second-year guys. So it means that it takes even more effort on the coaching level to get those guys ready and galvanized because they're going to make mistakes. They're going to have their blind spots. They're going to have breakdowns in the scheme. But if you can get those guys ready every week, especially in facing adversity when they were 0-4 start or 1-3 start, that's where you need a guy like Brian Flores.
If he wants to coach next year, he's got a job.
He'll get another job for sure.
Definitely.
The Cowboys beat the Giants by a score of 49-17. I mean, are you surprised? 17.5-point underdogs. And the Giants played like they were supposed to. Like a just tragedy. It's a tragedy. What was it? Tommy DeVito again. God bless the guy. Making it to the NFL. That's an amazing story. But the man can't
up like that.
The man isn't a starting quarterback. And everybody expected this beatdown, and that's exactly what happened. Only 86 total yards passing in the whole game. The first half itself had only 21. Saquon didn't do a thing. I mean, the defense, that was the most disappointing. Defense giving over 600 total yards. Making Brandon Cooks like he was 10 years younger. 131 total yards for Brandon Cooks. if you wanted a lock this week, it was putting CeeDee Lamb out there. I mean, I'll admit it. I betted against YT for that. I'm somebody who can emotionally put his team aside to make a buck. If you think I'm a bad fan, you know what? Fuck you. I need money too. But regardless, there's not really much to say. But I'll take the L on that. But there's not really much to say. The Giants suck. The Cowboys need to beat better teams as well. So we'll just see if the Cowboys can transition next week with it. That's all we have to say here. The Giants right now, which is insane, have the 2nd overall pick behind the Bears. You know, this will be a discussion for later in the season. If you stay with Justin Fields or they themselves draft another quarterback, you probably should with this class. But, I mean, it's tankathon time for the Giants. That's it. And, we'll have more of those discussions about Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, what's going on in the future. We need to have that conversation in a couple months. There's no point to say it here. We'll just, as I mentioned last week, I'm still a Giants fan. I'll watch the game because when they're good again, I can have the bragging rights. Like if there was any Chief fan out there who was there when Alex Smith was there, maybe you were a real one, but I'm gonna stay.
They don't exist.
Giants. No such thing.
Okay.
Except I mean. My friend Jake Campbell, I will say he's a true Chiefs fan, but
all right,
everyone else, it's just it's just going through the motions. Just bet against the Giants and you will get money. There's nothing good about this team.
Okay. I'm gonna just keep it nice, short, and as sweet as I possibly can. You right, Giants suck. But I'm not big on the Cowboys either, to be honest. Like Dak has this thing where he can punish bad teams. Nice.
Exactly.
Keep it up during the
That's
good
what I'm
one.
saying. They have to play against a real team like that. So anyone who beats the Giants down, no offense, Alex, last week, but you do have to go play better teams too.
Smelly victory. Once Cooper Rush can get in there, you know it's a smelly victory. Like you know what I'm saying? Like Pollard not living up to that number 1 running back expectation. Brandon Cooks, like you said, looked like he stepped out of a time machine and galloped his way to like mad freaking yards. I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it like this: 2 choices, real simple. Pick up a veteran, nice quarterback that you know is gonna manage your team right? Keep tanking and just do whatever you got to do. Get rid of Saquon. Just free Saquon because running backs aren't like, you know, typical, like running backs are a dime a dozen. You can build one nowadays, like NBA 2K. You can build a mind player that can run you the ball, right? Get a whole bunch of pieces on offense via the draft, people that you're solid on, like tank and get yourself like a good, okay, this is our future offensive line. Because honestly, you can't expect Saquon to do nothing if he can't if there's no seams, no gaps. Well, you want him to work himself to death. I don't know what it is, but the end, y'all gotta protect y'all quarterback. Y'all need something. The Giants need something over there. And if that don't work for y'all, get it. This class is crazy with quarterbacks. Get you a quarterback, and then go get you a bunch of veterans on offense. Still trade Saquon. Get you some veterans on offense. Shore up that line. Keep your quarterback safe.
I hear that, Bars. Like I said, this is more of a conversation in a couple months, but we will see how this all unfolds.
That's it. That's all I got to say on
it. If I don't have anything else to, why don't we now talk about it? And this should lead to another interesting conversation. The Browns defeated the Ravens by a score of 33-31. The Ravens were up 31-17 in the last 7 minutes. Their lackadaisical play cost them. And they didn't seem to have a care in the world. Turnover on downs. Some bad turnovers. And Lamar Jackson can't close. This was the game that the Ravens could have won and sealed the respect of being a top team in the entire NFL. And they screwed it up. Walk-off field goal for the Browns. And now clearly the Ravens have to prove themselves again. But yeah, Lamar Jackson didn't close it when he needed to. And this was A very, very bad loss for the Ravens. Credit to Deshaun Watson and the Browns making a push, but yeah, this has to sting for the Ravens.
I don't want to expend all my useful energy with Hayden not here. I just want to put his picture up against the dartboard and just give him a couple little Lamar jabs. But I mean, look, what can I say? They were due for a loss to come back down to earth. They were riding hot. Everybody was smoking what they were putting down, and the Ravens, look, they're still going to be top in the AFC. I still think they have a huge test on Thursday, and we'll talk about that later in the show. But they just didn't play well enough to win. They were very lucky to hang around in this game, get towards the finish line with Cleveland. Cleveland won time of possession. They were more efficient on third down. They kept a pretty clean game. But the Ravens defense made a few plays that were worthy of winning, and they created three turnovers, and they kept this game in striking distance, gave Lamar a lot to work with. But look, he was 13 of 23. He didn't even have 250 yards, 2 picks. It's just not good enough. And again, going back to what I've said, my entire thesis with this team going on 4 years now, they didn't even scrape 100 yards on the ground. And if you can't run the ball, if you're one-dimensional and you ask Lamar to throw and beat you in the air, you're setting yourself up for failure. And they just haven't proven it to me on a consistent basis where they can do that they can be ambidextrous on an offensive level. And this is what you're going to continue to get. And it's not even just a product of playing a tough, divisional game. I think this is closer to what they are when their backs are against the wall and when they're easily manipulated and assessed on offense. And I'm just going to stick with that and abide by it until I see otherwise.
Great points. Absolutely great points. One thing I want to say about this before I get into the game itself. Great game, first of all. On our Wednesday show, we always constantly talk about the Pac-12 cannibalizing itself and eating itself. Are we seeing that with this AFC North? Are we seeing it with these teams? Like,
yeah, like I said,
scrappy. Like you mentioned, it that's what it's going to be like. I don't really know, like, who comes out of their lives. Is that one of those situations where we see this team just sneaking in a 3 or 4 seed and nobody else making it? It's just like going to be like a 10-6 or 10-7 division. I really don't know, and I'm curious to see how it plays out. I think it's going to be more of like right now. I think the stat was all 4 teams are in the playoffs as the season ended, which is ridiculous.
I can confirm that 1 second.
What's that?
I can confirm that 1 second, but yeah, dude, the about eating themselves, and as I mentioned, adding on to Alex's points, is they should have just played conservatively towards the end when you had a 2-possession lead, and you straight up didn't, and look what happened. I mean, again, that's all football IQ. I was very confused, especially for a very good coach like Harbaugh that he let that happen. He definitely got out coached right there by Cleveland.
Yeah. No, and I will say, like Matt, you mentioned earlier in the show, like the Eagles really developed that offense where they can go on those 8-minute drives. They can wear out your defense. The Ravens have to develop that switch late in games when you have a lead, go on 8-minute drives, limit the possessions of the other team, and they can be so much better than they are. But we'll see. It's gonna be a great race in that AFC division going forward.
Yes, and yes, as Bars confirmed, the Browns, Steelers, Ravens, and actually Bengals are actually in the bubble right now, so we're in the hunt. But those 3 are in the hunt, are in the playoff picture if the season ended today. But Bars, your point?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that Alex and Nico both said. I just want to note on it was a good game for Odell. I feel like Odell had a really good game. But it's a tough divisional game. That's what you're going to get from those 2 teams, from any of those 4 teams in that division, and like at that. So it was just solid. I'm not really going to touch too much on it, but Lamar got to clutch it up. Like he said, it's not good enough. They're too one-dimensional. I don't want to really run on too much on points that were already made, but yeah.
All right. Now let's talk about the rival of the Browns and the Ravens, and let's talk about excuse me. Let's talk about the Houston Texans getting a huge victory over the Cincinnati Bengals by a score of 30-27. That was one hell of a game. And let me say something. CJ Stroud, top 5 quarterback in this league. No doubt your rookie of the year. And there's some people who really are making the case that he should be your MVP. And I think you have, don't jump on the horse too fast, but he's no doubt playing on that type of level. But here's the most impressive thing I saw from that game. CJ Stroud outplayed Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow did not have a bad game. Let's talk about more of this game. What's going on, guys? What do you think of CJ Stroud and the Texans coming to play? And at the moment, they are in the playoffs right now.
I feel, my personal opinion, was the best game of the best game the entire week. It was nail biting. It was just because at certain points, it's like, okay, the Bengals are up. Then you're like, oh shoot, look at CJ Stroud, outgunning Joe Burrow right now. It was a shootout. It was a great game. Defense came on both sides, but you can't stop those playmakers. That's literally what it was being shown. That would be a fire game if it was in the playoffs. Fire. We all know that the numbers would have been running up. I
feel like the Bengals really didn't make a push towards till the second half, but yeah, till at that point it was pretty good there.
They didn't start really getting super aggressive, but they I don't know. It was a great game to me. I don't know. Mainly because I don't know. I'm on that CJ Stroud train now, so I guess I'm just riding the wave. But I agree. Maybe he should be MVP. And if that's the case, Nico Ryans for Coach of the Year. So what up?
That I think is an excellent point.
I think it's a more rational take than CJ Stroud as MVP, but I would definitely put him in Offensive Rookie of the Year, no doubt. I don't have much to add to this. I think Bars did basically say what I wanted to say, which is I thought this was secretly one of the best games of the weekend. Right now they are leading the AFC South. I'm shocked that since he's on the bubble, but again, I harken back to 6 weeks prior where I had grave concerns, even on, the outset of Burrow's initial injury from, the offseason. I still think that Cincinnati, I have to grade them on if all things were even on an even playing field, I would have to grade Cincinnati on a curve because of the division they're in. But my excuse is not valid when I have them winning the AFC Championship, and that's the standard I have to hold them by. So they have to get better. Can't keep playing from behind. You have to, you have to beat these teams. Houston clearly is the inexperienced team. You have a rookie head coach. You have a rookie quarterback. Just not acceptable. This is the calling card of what they do. Cincinnati, they're a high-powered offense. They're gelled. They're synchronous. They just went to the Super Bowl. You have to beat an anemic roster like this. As young and excited as they may be, you have to beat a team like that at home. There's just no excuse. And
fair point.
You have to just take care of business. So a lot of things to be waiting for in terms of Cincinnati. A lot of things that need to be done and be improved on. But shout out to Houston for a big one.
Absolutely awesome game.
Yeah.
I'll move a little watch. One of my plays of the week last week, when we did our pick segment, was the over in this game. I really was interested to see how CJ Stroud could perform against a quarterback like Joe Burrow and go back and forth. But I will say I was very disappointed how Houston closed off that game in the last 5 minutes. I'm all for the Ryan Coach of the Year candidate, but after seeing that last 5 minutes, that shouldn't have really even been a game. The fact that you needed to win that game on a game-winning field goal didn't make sense to me. You're up 27-17 with 5 minutes to go, and made a couple questionable calls when you were trying to kill the clock, and I just was stunned to see that. Hey, but they pulled it off. They got the win. And like Matt mentioned, the Bengals are going to turn it on at the right time. They're going to click. They're a second-half team, and they roll that momentum right into the playoffs, and I think it's going to be the same exact thing this season.
For sure. Definitely a deep game to break down with everybody making strong points there. And one thing I should have considered more was thinking about how that was also the Bengals really not making a push towards the second half. That's where it turned into a great game, was the second half, because they were looking pretty bad at some points. But they did put it on, but wasn't good enough. And the thing that they did come in less than a minute. They did take the lead. But it seems whether it was this or the Falcons game, CJ Stroud clearly knows how to do a solid 2-minute drill. That's one thing this league has to pay attention to.
Go ahead, Alex.
Oh, real quick. I just wanted to throw this out before we move to the next topic. For which team is this a bigger must win on Thursday night, the Ravens or the Bengals?
Sure.
Ooh.
To answer that now, it has to be the Ravens, because they can't, because this past week, everyone was talking about how they are a top team in the NFL, which we made a clip on ourselves after essentially blowing the game against the Browns. And if you lose against the Bengals, back-to-back division losses, you're in a bad hole that you really need to almost win out for this second half of the year.
That'll knock them out the first seed, and that might actually put the Bengals in playoff contention.
So right now, the number one seed is the Chiefs, so that might knock them out the second. But I mean, division wise. Oh yeah. Yes.
I will say I don't even think this is a question in my opinion, and I think it's Cincinnati. I really do.
Definitely.
I just because like the thing, and I hate saying this because I get depressed this time of the year already thinking about it. Like we're late in the year, boys. Like we only have like 6-7 games left. Like we're getting down to the nitty gritty right now. Like it's kind of do or die mode, and the Bengals need a win on this Thursday.
I totally agree. I have nothing to add to that.
Excellent points. Even though it's fair, good. It's good to agree to disagree, but regardless, this is going to be a very bad loss for one team and a very important win for the other. Now, moving on. So let's talk about the Thursday night game and the Bears and the Panthers.
Oh.
Solid win for the Panthers. A solid win for the Bears. They win 16-13. They too had a walk-off field goal. Sorry, no, they didn't. They had a almost walk-off field goal. The 59-yarder did not hit for the Panthers. I mean, what's there to talk about? These two teams are two of the worst in the NFL. Bryce, I feel like in his first 10 games has not stepped up, while CJ Stroud has. Reckon it's still early in his career for him, and he has time to make it up. But at least for now, I haven't really seen Bryce Young make me feel like, oh, shoot, this guy is a world-renowned player. And I even think at the beginning of your career, you can notice that. Now, to be fair, Troy Aikman had a rocky start. He didn't win one game in his rookie year. Peyton Manning only won 1 or 2, if I'm not mistaken. It takes some time, but at least the 5'10" Bryce Young hasn't shown me, at least, that he can be a franchise quarterback right away. Do you think that can change, or is this his ceiling?
Real quick, I'm just going to get my take out to get it over with. This game was trash on both parts for me, but I don't want to say that this is this young man's ceiling yet and not give him that credit. But I will say something that was interesting that was brought to me, that is Bryce Young, was he the youngest person with the NHL? He was like one of the first person with NIL. It seems like when you get the bag, you don't really play no more. Like, and I feel like that's kind of what I feel like he's suffering from. He got money, and like he don't really got the urge or feel like that need to really play. Now he's just kind of pretty much getting paid and just solidifying his check. But honestly, he's pretty much a letdown for like in terms of like chucking up the season. He's a letdown as far as number one draft picks go. But I don't want to sit there and be like, you know what, that's it for this kid. That's it. He ain't got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, my whole take with Bryce Young itself is like, I just really think it's unfair to criticize him at this point in his career. The only reason why I say that is like, you look at guys like that got drafted in the first round, like even Aaron Rodgers, as an example. he was fortunate enough. He got the backup Brett Favre. He got to learn from these guys. When you're kind of going in on the flow, you're starting day one starter, day one face of the franchise. It's tough. The speed of the NFL is different. Granted, he played in the SEC, but once you get even to the NFL, it is every single guy's the number one pick or number one player on the SEC defense. And I really truly believe that people that criticize him this early, it's unfair. I think the Panthers absolutely stink. I think him and Thielen have a little nice connection going, and hopefully they'll build some confidence and get some chemistry going into year 2 together. But besides that, Bears, nothing much to say about them or the game itself. Only thing I will say is I do believe Justin Fields is that guy, and I really think they're going to be in an interesting spot. Something we'll start talking about later on in the season to possibly trade that pick and
number
get
one
some
overall
more talent and get some support around them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Especially when you have a bad team like the Bears, just to dovetail off that last point that Nico made. When you have a bad team, we have holes everywhere like Swiss cheese. You really need to trade back, especially when you don't have a good hit record with your GM in the past 3 drafts with a team like Chicago. But yeah, I mean, look, there's not much to parse from this game. They're 2 really bad teams, 2 really poorly run teams. I still believe that Bryce Young is. I almost called him Bryce Vine. There's no chance in hell that he's anywhere near his ceiling. You could take any nameless quarterback who's been a high draft pick and not assess him by his first season and have a successful quarterback in front of you. But I wanted to throw something out there to you guys as a little trivia point before we move on. Guess how many years it's been since neither quarterback has gone over 200 yards passing. Both running backs have been under 100 yards rushing, and both receiving top receivers have been under 60 yards. It's been over 55 years since both teams like that have had that happen.
Teams?
I thought you were describing the Jets I thought you were describing the Jets Giants game 2 weeks ago.
No, I believe the last time it happened, it was back in the 70s because I looked it up a couple of days ago, but it was between the Jets and Vikings. It's so crazy, but
the Jets, there you go.
That's literally how bad these teams are. So it's historic fashion, historic dog turns. I do still believe in Justin Fields, and I feel like if they could course correct, they'll trade back in the draft.
All right, and the last thing I want to put a hypothetical fact. All right, so let me ask you, I'm going to name you 2 situations, and you have to find the connection here. What does Jamarcus Russell and Calvin Johnson have in common, and Greg Oden and Kevin Durant? What do they have in common? A number 1 overall pick who
they all got injured.
But no, I don't think Calvin Johnson ever got injured, but the other 3 for sure. But that is a number 1 overall pick that got outshined by the number 2 overall pick. So far, we'll see if Bryce Young is better. If CJ Stroud will officially outshine Bryce Young in the first year for sure. Jamarcus Russell became a joke. Calvin Johnson became one of the greatest receivers ever. Greg Oden truly lost his career to injuries, and Kevin Durant became one of the best forwards ever. So we'll see what happens with these 2 being intertwined, and if those 2 will be a similar connection, or if we're gonna have like a Peyton Manning to Ryan Leaf. The one clearly was better than the 2, but we don't want that scenario to happen either, because we know what happened. All right. Almost there, guys. Cardinals and Falcons. Cardinals get a win with Kyler Murray's return. Yay, I guess. Solid win for the Cardinals because they went down in the draft order. And the Falcons blew another lead with a barely used Bijan Robinson at the running back, and they used him more for special teams. Again, what's there to say about the Cardinals? They're just going through the motions. But Kyler Murray, it's nice to see him play well. Even though a lot of people like to troll him, good for him. I actually was not a hater per se, but I was just like, who is this guy? He seemed more interested in video games and stuff, but he clearly seemed to rehab and care, and he came back and got a solid win. And for the Falcons, that was not a game worth blowing, even with Desmond Ridder finally playing well again. And I think it's clear that Arthur Smith is the coach in the NFL right now that people like to troll the most. Like, people don't know what the heck he's doing with his silly little mustache. It's not a Top Gun mustache. It's not a Renelio mustache. It's Arthur Smith. Say what you want to say about that, but I mean, the Falcons, like, they are not going to go anywhere if they keep losing these close games, and it doesn't matter if you're a good or a bad team. Clearly, here in the Cardinals trying to tank.
Yeah, I was also happy to. What you said, I'm happy for Kyler Murray. I'm a Kyler Murray guy. I want to see him succeed. I love seeing former players that did great in college do well at the next level. But another question I constantly have: what the hell is wrong with Arthur Smith and this Falcons team? Like, we have these playmakers. Like, we don't like giving them the ball. Like, you got Kyle Pitts, you got Drake London, you got Bijan. Like, yeah, you know what? Let's throw it to. I was just gonna say a random name like Fred Jackson. Like, just throw it to somebody. I don't know. It makes no sense. I don't know what this team's doing. Just get the ball to your playmakers, and good things will happen. Yeah, another terrible coaching job by the Falcons. Another choke job, whatever you want to call it, in a game that's a must-win. Being in that weak division, having a chance to win the division itself, you can't lose that game to the Arizona Cardinals. You just can't do it.
Well, that's the most important thing from this. It's like, does anybody want to play hot potato and win this game in the NFC South? Like, this just seems to be ridiculous. Like, every time these teams go on the road or host a bad team at home, they just blow the opportunity to put a team away. I totally agree, Nico. Like, I think, I did like Kyler, and for different reasons than Bryce Young. I don't trust a lot of quarterbacks under 6 feet, but I think if he's going to be the guy, I like the baseball football hybrid kind of guy. You see it with Mahomes being hyper successful, and of course he's in a better position, but I think he's kind of cut from the same cloth in terms of his awareness, his peripheral vision, how he approaches the game. If he just put a little more dedication, a little more effort, I think he could really be that guy. And now, if this is the floor I'm getting from Kyler Murray coming back, I do feel confident that they could turn this team around. Now, of course, this season's still a wash, but furthermore, I think that they can build on things as they pivot into next year. I still believe their GM, Steve Keim. I haven't really seen his draft record, but I would like to give him a couple more years running the ship. Again, he's made aggressive moves to replace the coach there with Kingsbury. And, again, with Atlanta, I mean, the biggest, hottest L that I've taken on this show, as of this point in week 11 is Arthur Smith as a coach. I was high on him. I gave him praise and much due respect, being ahead of their recovery season last year. And they just have too much talent to waste on this roster with Arthur Smith running the show. And I'm just kind of disappointed.
Womp, womp, womp.
Well, real quick, and before we go on, how do you not take advantage of 112 penalty yards from Arizona? Clearly, they're miscuing. It's like you got to force turnovers. You got to turn this game around where you can give your quarterback short field yardage opportunities. Arthur Smith is supposed to be the offensive guy from Tennessee. I haven't seen it all year.
As Nico mentioned, not to take his point, not clearly facilitating the skill players you have. Excuse me again.
Can't even get the shave right.
I heard the one crazy theory was about Bijan Robinson's incentive contract. Well, I have no idea on. I haven't looked at the contract. I never heard of such a thing. Why would a rookie? I mean, that's maybe one thing we have to study some more is the actual contracts. Like, I don't think usually a first round pick, do they get incentives like that? Like, get this amount of yards or touchdowns? I reckon I saw.
I've seen
it. Bijan got the bag too. They gave him a bag.
I don't know. I reckon the source I saw was a crazy man, but has some validity to it. Oh, I'm sorry, Alex.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think they've done it to head case guys that have fallen in the draft. Over the years, they've had guys that there's been concerns about. I think Randy Gregory had a clause like that. And I think DK had one too, actually.
Right. And, but nothing about Bijan. It's just so strange. And putting him on special teams, that's a weird one. It's almost like he has something out for him.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Maybe we'll find out.
They say it on the air too. Like, what's good with Bijan Robinson? Like, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Bars, let's talk about your Steelers, where they went to Green Bay and got a victory no, they got a victory, and the Steelers got outgained again. They pulled off the victory. Jordan Love with a bad pick to lose the game. How you feeling?
Hey, outgained, winning, making history. You tell me. Like I said, similar situation at the Jets, but we make it look pretty. What I will say is the running game came alive. Let's talk about the return of the running game. Let us be depressed about everything else. Defense looks pretty good. We still give it up the middle of the field, though. It's probably one of my biggest takes is like, and one of my biggest gripes as a Steelers fan is like, yo, we don't know how to protect the middle of that field to save anybody's mama's life. Like, it's crazy. It's just nonsense. But Minkah Fitzpatrick is out, and you can kind of see what he brings to the what he brings to the table when you're seeing them get like what is it? Jordan Love had like two easy touchdowns. You see what Minkah brings to the game. Like Minkah takes away both of those easy touchdowns. Joey Porter Jr. had like that pass interference. That's something. He's young. They're gonna let him work that out. Quan Alexander going down big. We lost Cole Holcomb last week. Big. Like, and those are like pretty much season-ending injuries. So now, like, we're rotating, picking the pieces. But I guess the big topic is what's up with Kenny Pickett? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, another game, low yardage. Yeah, slightly efficient, but he's missing players open. Jalen Warren, probably the unspoken hero on that defense, 101 yards. Najee Harris is back. Broderick Jones, the addition to that offensive line, like just him over there. He was drafted as left tackle, but they moved him to the right. He's playing really well. Really opening that up. I think we just got a lot of drama going on. We always get those diva receivers, George Pickens, whatever. But honestly, we got to fix that offense. As much as it is to win, being outgained and all that, great, man. Let's talk about it, man. As a fan, at first I was like, we winning with Kenny, but now we got to talk about it. Is Kenny really our guy? Do we I don't know, knuckle down and bring back Josh Dobbs? Like, what do we do? Like, I don't know. Like, the shit is madness. Like, but in the end of the day, we gotta take for what it is. Our offense is not clicking. 1 week we're throwing the ball. 1 week we're running the ball. Like, so I don't know. Sideline Canada brings the running game, but we just haven't clicked with the passing game yet. Is Kenny's ribs still hurting? We don't know. Are his hands too small to really throw the ball? We don't know. The fact of the matter is, he's not playing good. And Jordan Love was looking really good, actually. They just lost that game to a better defense. It is what it is. TJ Watt played his 96th game, got his 89th sack career. So third, he's up there third, but second now. Him, his brother, and I think Reggie White. So that's the only thing I can take from that.
Yeah, I didn't really have much to say about the game itself. Dude, Pittsburgh just wins games. Bars, you should be as a fan, all you did was all you did was win 3 years in a row.
We're not winning Super Bowls like this.
Correct, and that's my next point. It's just like there's so much. You can only be mediocre for so long, and I just think Pittsburgh really needs to take a look in the mirror and realize that this is not the team they need to be successful, and they got to get off this carousel of being 9-8, 9-8, 9-8, because that's all this team is destined to do. And on the other end of things, Green Bay, big question mark there. I really still don't know what to think of Jordan Love. I really don't. I really think they should incorporate a more two-headed dragon look with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. You see some signs of it, but I really think they could push that with that combo. and just see what happens. Develop some play action, get the run game going a little more, and we'll see what Green Bay could do. But yeah, for as far as Pittsburgh though, you can only be mediocre for so long.
That's a fact. I agree with you. I agree with what you said on the two-headed monster over there in Green Bay with AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. He just came back, and you can see what the impact. They even said it online on the air. You can see the impact that he brings to the game. Like there's a lot of plays that if that's not Aaron Jones, that's not a conversion, or that play is not happening the way it does. So you're correct.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Let's keep it moving.
Warren too, freak. I'm sorry, I was going to throw it out there. Jalen Warren is a stud, and I really think that he's going to be incorporated really nice.
Well, Nico, you have a great mind, and we are going to be on the lookout even more for him. And the Bucs played the Titans and won 20-6. Baker played a great game, and yeah, Bucs keep their they end their 3-game losing streak, and they keep things alive for the Buccaneers. The Titans, didn't have played a terrible game on offense. Well, Levis, you have some growing pains. Not much to say here, but we'll see if the Bucs can make a run out of this.
I got literally like 0 words for this game.
Yeah, it's not a very watchable game. Not pleasing to the eye, especially when Derrick Henry has 24 yards on 11 carries. What a shame. Unbelievable. Yeah, I still think like if Tampa wasn't in a bad division, they would be on wholesale alert as well. But I think these are two bad teams, and Tampa's got a puncher's chance just because NFC South's bad. So kudos for taking care of business at home, but not much to say here.
Yeah. That's really it.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the other bad game of the week. The Colts played the Pats in Germany.
Oh God.
Is it a standard? Is it a standard to have like 3 bad games a week?
Wait,
I mean,
Matt, you say
Chiefs...
we're on. What? I didn't mean to cut you off. Did you say we're on to the next game or skip? Not kidding. It's just bad.
The only thing I have to say here is it seems the international series is finally over. Matt got benched for Bailey Zappi again. Maybe for good this time. The Bills are 3rd in the tankathon. They have the 3rd overall pick. The big story about the Patriots, get into the tweet cap, but Bill Belichick looks like he had a walk of shame this past week, caught on a Ring camera. First of all, whoever that woman was to let go of that, that's on her. That's kind of weird. She clearly was. Talk about people who kiss and tell. That was one of them. Now, again, I know it's not officially confirmed, but that looks so much like him, right, guys? That was Bill Belichick walking home from probably Nantucket, getting some ass, and went to Germany right after the newly single Bill Belichick, especially if he's about to leave New England for good.
Do.
I didn't know people were still clapping cheeks at 70.
Hey, at his age, the tools that we can use for that.
Knocking the dust off.
He's giving it that Patriot way. I mean, look, I was the first one on record for the season. I said he might get a peaceful, quiet exit behind closed doors. I'm just wondering. I want to check because we're now into Q3 of the season. Who's with me now? Come on, Nico.
I'm on that bandwagon. Let's go. They're gonna send him out to pasture.
Ship him out to Tucket.
I don't
Brady
think so.
Oaks. They're gonna put him into the old folk home for head coaches.
Nah, get him. I think he needs to take the Chargers job. I think it should be a mutual part away at the end of the season. Chargers are going to be unbelievable next year under Bill Belichick.
Oh wow! I finally what?
I'm glad he's got that windbreaker on a regular Sunday basis. He's got a bigger rack than my ex.
Yo, can we just talk about another how was it like 3 years ago, 4 years ago? I don't know how long Mac Jones been in the league now. How did he get into the NFL top 100? Can someone tell me how that boy cracked the list? Because I
guess just making the playoffs in his rookie year, and then that was it.
Oh man.
Mhm. So, yeah. And then, I mean, now we talked about maybe Bill getting the boot. Turns out if they lost this game, turns out that Boston Globe report was inaccurate. He's still there, but I think the writing's on the wall that he is going to leave after this season. And again, we can have more of this conversation in a couple of months. But again, Bill Belichick to the Chargers, and they will no doubt be the powerhouse Nico believes that they can be. Bill Belichick
I bet they
specifically.
won't. I bet
Because
they won't.
you don't think they would make that move? I
No.
mean,
Well,
all they
hey,
need
well,
is
hey,
that great offensive. I mean, if he could get that quarterback like he was able to, who's much
No.
better than Mac Jones to get on that level.
No.
If he could refix that defense, don't you think the
Nope.
Chargers can make a push?
No, because the reality is that Belichick won with one guy and one guy only. And if you look at the rest of his coaching career, he's sub 500. And I don't think putting him in LA he's a demanding coach. And if he doesn't have his Patriot way, we've already seen the outfall of all the other Patriot ways failure jobs across the league. I don't think that he could just transpose that to LA and make it work, even with a high-powered guy like Herbert. Herbert's going to want his fame and his touches, and if he's not disciplined enough for Belichick's liking, he's gonna dispel fissures through that locker room. So no.
Okay, I hear you.
You
Maybe
know,
Washington
obviously,
Commanders would be better fit, or it doesn't matter who he
I
goes.
just think
We'll
he's got to
never.
I think he has to either retire or walk away peacefully. I do.
I think the perfect fit for while we're talking about it real quick, the Chargers would be Brian Flores.
All right, that could be a move. But yeah, again, this is more for later on in the season. I have these convos for all of us, but it's always fun speculating. Am I right? The only thing that I'll have here, I still think Bill will at least go to a team to get that ultimate, to have the most wins ever as a coach. And like I said, he's about 30 away.
I agree with Alex though. I feel what you're saying, but like I don't think that he should just go and suffer himself onto a team and then just kind of like, wash them up trying to get to his 30. Like that's not fair to them.
Yeah, well, we'll ultimately see when we cross that bridge. 2 more games to go, and then we'll make our picks. The Seahawks and the Commanders played 29-26 for the Seahawks. Another stellar game that ended in another walk-off. Commanders played really hard. Sam Howell, as long as he's protected, he could be a very good quarterback in this league. And even with trading some of their big pass rushers, the Commanders at least are staying in there. I reckon they did give up 29 points, but I think the Commanders maybe have a good future ahead at least. But the Seahawks are 6-3, quietly making some noise in the NFC. Good stuff from Pete Carroll, keeping this team competitive again. Insane stuff, am I right?
Real quick, Sam Howell, I think, leads the league in like three categories: touchdown passes, yards, and I can't remember. I can't remember the third one right now, but he leads the league in like 3 different categories. Even though they lost that game, so it's like I got to give Sam Howell some kudos. To be honest.
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun game to watch. Seattle, I really think is a very impressive team. I really don't understand how, because on paper their line, their defense isn't that great. Yeah, you have a great combo with Lockett and Metcalf, and Geno Smith's just balling out right now. But I really think Seattle is a force to be reckoned with, and excited to see how they finish out the year. And the flip side of it, Sam Howell, another quarterback that's just having an unbelievable season. And I love seeing guys like him do good. And I really think Sam Howell will keep improving throughout the year. And eventually, if they might be the guy that build around in Washington.
Yeah. So, because I just wanted to give Sam his kudos real quick. Touching back on the game, like Geno balled. In a game like this, it's kind of like, all right, cool. You see what those defensive pieces you gave away, kind of like how they kind of like affected your team. And in my belief, had they had those pieces, this game would have been slightly different. In my opinion, this game would have been a little bit different. But at the same time, I still give the Seahawks like the title of my NFC dark horse. I feel like they're gonna sneak around in the play. They're gonna get into the playoffs, but like people are gonna it's gonna be a little shaky for them. They're gonna get there. People are gonna sleep on them. They're gonna mess around and ball out on the team and take down a big contender. Who knows? But the Seahawks are showing you some fight every week. They don't have the best or the craziest wins, but they're winning these games.
I'm going to play devil's advocate against Seattle. I don't think that they're quite up to snuff. Now, I could be a prisoner of 1 week's worth of production, but I'm just looking at Geno Smith, like just the stat line from this week. And I understand the numbers don't tell the whole story, but you're telling me that a team bereft of a competent quarterback in Washington and a team that's also somewhat selling house a little bit on the defensive end. They just shipped Chase Young over to San Francisco for draft picks. Like, you're telling me that you can only squeeze out with a 3-point victory in your own house with all the momentum and motivation in the world by having San Francisco on its heels off of a bye week. And you're telling me that Geno has to throw 47 times to win that game. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't feel confident about that at the outset going into week 12. Kenneth Walker, I'm not sure what's going on with him. If he can't get separation, he was an average of less than 3.5 yards a carry. But again, it's just a major imbalance in the offensive production, and 4-14 on third down is not going to cut it as well. I just don't think that without a good balance on offense, I just don't think that this defense is good enough to keep them in games. You shouldn't be giving up 26 to Washington, even if you believe in Sam Howell. And I just think that they can be like the top wild card team in a down NFC. But if we expect them to be anything beyond that, I just think that's wishful thinking.
I think so too, especially if because this game could have gone either way as well. And I reckon they added Leonard Williams on defense. They probably should have added a little more. They are a very veteran defense, but we'll see how that ultimately pans out. But the final game to get into, my friends, is the San Francisco 49ers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was a very surprising beatdown. The 49ers were just 5-point favorites coming into this, and they won by 26. They won by 30. They won 34-3. Sorry, 27. The 49ers won by a score of 34-3. Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel came back, and the 49ers also have a bye, and everything went perfect for them. Everything went out perfect on offense, perfect on defense, and they beat a very good Jaguars team on the road. And the only thing that was a bad thing was that Christian McCaffrey's touchdown streak ended at 18 games, but he'll be fine. But I think from this game, the 49ers are back to being Super Bowl contenders. Am I right?
100%.
Okay, we're gonna disagree again. Go ahead, Nico.
I'm also gonna disagree. I'm also gonna disagree. That doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, no. San Francisco is an unbelievable team. They will be your Super Bowl champs in February. I'm telling you that right now. I'll be saying I said it all year. Yeah, that's it. And I think they just had a couple weeks, bye week, clear the mind out, get a little hype, talk about it, talk about things over, come out firing, dominate Jacksonville. Just not beat them, dismantle a team that we think's a playoff team. We all thought, I wasn't on the pre-show, but most people thought that Jacksonville was going to win that AFC South. And I really still think they do. And I just cannot believe what San Francisco did to them. It was just bad. I was not expecting a 34-3 blowout. I was not expecting that. And to me, that just proves that San Francisco is the best team in football.
Thank you, Nico. Now let's hear the other side.
I mean, let me go before Alex rips it apart, right? Like, I did have the Jaguars winning this, but it's because, San Francisco is falling apart. Well, in my eyes, they were falling apart. On paper, San Francisco is a better team. I can definitely see them dismantling any one of these AFC teams, like all day, every day. Even our top AFC team, maybe not the Chiefs, but I can see them dismantling a lot of these AFC teams. But at the same time, look at the losses that they got. And to say that they beat the Jaguars and be like, yeah, like all of a sudden they're like top team, nah. I wouldn't say that they're all of a sudden Super Bowl contenders again. They still had that moment where they let a lot of big games, not big games, but they let a lot of games where they shouldn't have let go. So in my opinion, nah, I don't believe that. Brock Purdy's still questionable. When Christian McCaffrey's not functioning, yeah, he didn't score, but he still had like 90-something yards. Like when he's not functioning, when that game's not working, let's praise the return of George Kittle. But like outside of that, like what's going on for them?
Well, no, I mean, I'm going to be somewhere in the middle. I wasn't quite expecting that assessment, and nor was I expecting that affirmation from Matt. But I just think like, okay, so they had a 3-game slide. They went into a bye. We knew that coming to a 1:00 time zone that they were going to have a crucial game where they needed to take care of business, and they did it in dominant fashion. But the reason I have hesitancy just to crown them as coronated as the NFC champs already is because, again, I need at least 2 games of this. I need them to take care of business in Seattle 2 weeks from today, 2 weeks from Thursday, and I'm sorry, a week from Thursday.
Agreed.
Pardon me. Yeah, I need to see that for sure. And again, Brock Purdy not asked to do a lot, 19 of 23, so he did play a clean game. He kept comfortable in that pocket. But there were 4 turnovers forced by San Francisco. Like, let's not act like this was an offensive destruction. I think this
Fair
was
enough, but they made sure they didn't score on those either.
No, of course. What I'm saying is a collective team effort, but to say and assess that this offense is back, this team is back, Brock Purdy's back, I'm not convinced just yet. Again, I need to see the Seattle win in a week, and again, they have a tough stretch towards the end of the season. So props to them for taking care of business on the road. Big quality win against a difficult opponent. But again, I just need a little more longevity, and I need to see them convincingly shrug off that 3-game slide.
The only thing you make very fair points, Alex. The only thing that wasn't mentioned was the absence of Debo and Trent Williams in that 3-game skid. So to hopefully prove the point, and especially with the big divisional game against Seattle, I think it's fair. You make a fair point. You need to see more, especially with the return of those 2 guys and staying healthy and making sure McCaffrey stays healthy too. So as long as that happens, we will see where we are in a month. But I think it's a very fair challenge, no doubt. But I'm glad we're split on this.
And the inclusion of George Kittle is big. And let's not act
he had
like
his best game for sure.
Let's not act like they didn't just pick up a couple of pieces on defense either. So
that's right. Chase Young was there, and he got his first sack. That's gonna be very vital. Yeah. Excellent point.
Didn't they get Randy Gregory too? Or is that somebody else?
Randy Gregory. I thought Randy Gregory was traded out. He plays for the Colts now.
Okay.
But regardless, no, sorry. Randy Gregory does play for the 49ers. I drew a blank for a second, but he was always there. But regardless though,
they defense short up.
Yeah, that's right. They were about to you're right, good point. I missed that one. He was originally released by the Broncos in the middle of the year, and then they picked him, they signed him, and as long as he hits his potential, it'll be some good stuff on defense. But good stuff ahead. Let us do our picks. Remember our new setup here. We pick 3 games. It doesn't matter if we have the same games. And we do our picks this way. So I started last week. Let's go Alex, Nico, Bars, and then me. So Alex, what's your first game of this week?
Do you want like an upset, or do you want a highly competitive contest?
Whatever you're feeling, whatever you want, make your best case.
All right. Well, for an upset, I'm going to drink my own juice here. I'm going to have my boys going to Miami. Las Vegas upsetting the Dolphins at home at a 1:00 off the bye. I haven't seen the line, haven't seen the odds, but I just feel internal inertia, adrenaline, confidence with this team that they can keep it rolling. I think Antonio Pierce is just what the doctor ordered. So I'm going to go with that as my upset. I think most competitive game of the weekend, just by virtue of diverting the obvious, which would be Philly KC, I'm going to abstain from that one. I'm going to go Seattle going down to the Rams. And the reason I say that at the 4:30 slot is because I think that the Rams are in desperation mode. They're trying to save face. This is, again, a tough divisional matchup. I think Seattle, by virtue of winning a tough game at home, I think they're kind of feeling themselves. They feel like their mojo's back, and I think they're going to come into this game short-sighted. I do like the Rams in an upset here to bring Seattle back down to earth. And just to cap that, I think that this Cardinals-Texans game could be really good at the 1:00 as well. I think Houston, again, they're another team that's riding hot, but I think they're going to come back down to earth a little bit at home. I think they're underestimating the Cardinals, especially with what they did with a bounce back game from Kyler. So I do like that third game in Houston as well.
Yep. My personal my one of my favorite bets of the weekend for sure is going to be the under in the Vegas versus Miami Dolphins game. Right now that over under is 46.5. I feel like that is a little high. Just because I don't think the Raiders defense gets enough credit. And no offense, I don't think the Raiders offense is good, but I just really think they're just gonna control the tempo like they've been doing the past couple weeks, control the pace, get Jacobs his touches, do what you have to do, convert first downs, and I don't know how competitive it will be, but I just really don't see that game going over. Do you want me to go with my 3 picks?
Yeah, we'll do it that way this week, like
All right,
Alex.
yeah, it doesn't matter. So my phone just goes out. So my second pick is, and I know we always refer to me as like an under person, but it's another under. It's the under in the Houston Arizona game. 48 points. Yes,
Wow.
he just dropped the ball one out, but yeah, like Kyler Murray's back. I'm very big on Kyler Murray. I'm just not big on the Arizona Cardinals. 48 is a lot of points for two teams that, yeah, Houston's hot. Houston's scoring a lot of points, and I might eat my words on this because Houston's over's been hot the past couple weeks. But hey, I just really think 48 points is a lot for a game that has Arizona Cardinals involved in it, regardless of the quarterback. That's just my main takeaway in that one. And then that too. Give me 1 second. So one is not a pick, but I just wanted to touch on a game because since we're not really talking about games. Monday Night Football. I love when Monday Night Football. They always have those like 2 games a year that stand out. Chiefs, Eagles, Super Bowl rematch. I don't have a bet in that game yet, but I can assure you I'll be watching, and that game is something I'm very much so looking forward to. And then finally, my final pick is the over in the Dallas Carolina game. Right now it's 41.5 points. I just really feel like Dallas is going to force turnovers, which is great for the over, where Young is going to turn the ball over. Dallas is going to be right there, swoop it up, and put on a lot of points. With that being said, I also think Bryce Young is going to succeed in getting the ball out quick. Versus the Dallas Cowboys, you have to get the ball out quick. You can't let Michael Parsons, these guys, get in your face and force bad decisions. Look at Tua in that Miami offense. Tua takes a 2-step drop back and the ball's out really quick. I think Bryce Young is going to be forced to do that this week, and I think he's going to see some success. So going to be over 41.5 points in that game.
What's up, Bars?
Right. So real quick, I'll just give a shout out, honorable mention to my Steelers. They go against the Browns. Not really gonna give them a pick or anything, but just an honorable mention. Broncos, Vikings. That's the first game I got. I want to see what the Pasternak got going on. You know what I'm saying? I want to see if he keeps bringing it, and I kind of want to see if Russell Wilson can keep this momentum going. I want to see if they can keep riding off of this. Real quick, Matt, do you know the over-under? So I can just throw it in real quick, if you got it.
So we are looking for over-under for Cardinals, Vikings. Our over-under for 8:20 at Sunday night. We have our over-under is 43.5. Denver's your minus 2.5-point favorites.
I'm gonna go with the under. I'm gonna take the Vikings, but I'm going with the under. The second game I got is Eagles Chiefs because it's the Super Bowl rematch, but it's a potential Super Bowl rematch. You know, we might see these two teams at the end of the season. We're duking it out once again. I kind of want to see what this Chiefs team got. If this Chiefs team can beat this Eagles team, I'm definitely going to be much higher on them. But even though they've been winning, y'all know I've been just kind of like, yeah, they've been depleted. I've not really been on them. And every time I pick against them, they mess around and win. So I'm going to actually go with the Eagles still on this one. I'm going to keep it up. And if they win even though I go against them, what's the over under on this one?
Or one more time, over under for the
Eagles Chiefs.
Eagles Chiefs. Your over under is 45.5. Chiefs are your 2.5-point favorites.
I'm gonna take the Eagles on this one with the over on the points. And my last one is gonna be Buccaneers 49ers. Strange enough, this is a very big game, in my opinion, for the 49ers, because like Alex said, they got to win another game. You know what I'm saying? They got to win another game before they get solid. And people are like, yeah, you know, they Super Bowl again. And I hate the Buccaneers passionately because I don't like Mayfield. But it's only big for me because I want to see if the 49ers can win again. If they can win again, and if they can blow this team out like they should, then I'm still not going to jump on that bandwagon, but then I have more stock in them too. And I got the 49ers winning. What's the over-under on this one?
49ers and the Buccaneers at home. Your over-under is 41.5.
Oh, I'm going over. I feel
right.
like Baker. I feel like they're going to score. Baker's going to have some fight, and then they're going to have to keep scoring.
Okay.
So I'm going with the over on this one, with the 49ers taking it.
All right. It's my turn now. So, games that really stick out for me. First, on 425, we have the Jets going to the Bills. The Bills are favored at -7, and your over-under is 45.5. Listen, at the end of the day, no matter what, the Bills in the Robert Saleh era have the Jets have the Bills number in the Robert Saleh era. And I think they will be able to bounce back, and they will not cover the spread. I would still say go for the spread for the Bills, but I do think they could keep it somewhat competitive, especially with an offense that doesn't know what they're doing under a new coordinator. I think even on the road, the Jets can hold the Bills and get the victory. Give the Bills the points, but I do say take the Jets, especially they at +7. I think that is a great spread to take for the Jets at 425. Continuing on, we have the Raiders and the Dolphins. Hear this spread. The Dolphins are 12.5-point favorites. Actually, this line literally just changed. So at this moment, the line is 12 points for the Miami Dolphins, 47.5. So what can the speedy Miami Dolphins coming off a bye expect with a Raiders team that has so much momentum? So I think it'll be a challenge for the secondary to keep up with the speedy weapons that the Dolphins have. I do expect the Raiders to continue to have a competitive game. I think at least the Dolphins defense is still a question mark. We're not sure what they have. They definitely are doing very well on the defensive backs, but the pass rush is still a question. And I think Josh Jacobs can keep it competitive. And we'll see if Aiden O'Connell can step up. But again, similar to the Jets and Bills, give the points to the Raiders at 12 points. That's just a lot in general for a team that's 500. Even on the road, 1 o'clock. Reckon, the West Coast, East Coast change, but I think they could at least keep it a close game. And for over under 47.5, I will go under there. I do think it'll be the case. And I'm also going to talk about Monday night's game. The Philadelphia Eagles, the 8-1 Philadelphia Eagles are playing the 7-2 Kansas City Chiefs. As mentioned, the Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites, and your over-under is 45.5. Now, both teams have a bye, and I think that's crucial. And I do think the Eagles are the best team in football, even though it's hard for me to admit. But I really believe in karma, and if you believe in the Madden curse, if you believe in the Manning cast curse, which just applied to Trevor Lawrence, he was on the week before the 49ers game and he got his ass beat. Last year, I believe any current active NFL player who went on the Manning cast lost that week. They were like 0-6. Patrick Mahomes was on the Manning cast this past week, and he showed how he could be a very good analyst if he chooses that. But I really think if this game is a coin toss, and you can point at any reason for both of these teams to win, but solely on the fact that Patrick Mahomes was on the Manning cast this week, I think the Eagles can take the edge and have their strengths overcome the Chiefs' weaknesses, especially with a very good defense. This Chiefs defense will be tested. I still think the Eagles can slip in a win here. And give me the Chiefs with the points. I think they could win by a field goal. And give me over 45.5. I do think there's a chance for them to be. Actually, no, I take it back. Give me under 45.5. I think the Monday night pressure will succumb. I think the Chiefs won't score as many points because you clearly don't have an answer for the wide receiver problems for the Chiefs. And then the Eagles will carry it. Should be a fun game. But regardless, awesome show from Bars, Nico, and Alex. Let's hope that Week 11 can bring as much hype and joy as Week 10 did. And yeah, we will see you next week for a crucial Thanksgiving week of football for both college and NFL. But we'll see you tomorrow with college, and we'll see you all very soon.
Peace.